When you stop reacting, they don't just notice it. They feel it. Hard. At first, they might act unbothered. Maybe they even pretend they're relieved that you've gone silent. But beneath that cool surface, a storm is brewing. You're about to find out exactly what happens emotionally when you finally stop playing their game. And trust me, it's way more powerful than any text, argument, or desperate plea you could ever send. Think about it. People expect you to chase, to explain, to need them. When you don't, it throws their entire world upside down. As Robert Greene wrote in The 48 Laws of Power, absence increases respect and honor. And that's the energy you're stepping into right now. The moment you stop reacting, you force them to sit with everything they tried so hard to avoid. Most people have no idea how deeply their silence cuts. Studies have shown that emotional withdrawal triggers the same part of the brain that processes physical pain. In other words, your silence isn't just noticed, it hurts. And guess what? The longer you hold that line, the deeper those emotions spiral. After the initial shock and disbelief wear thin, confusion takes over. And honestly, it's not the simple kind. It's the kind that unsettles their entire perception of themselves, of you, and of the relationship you once shared. Your ex had crafted a mental image where they were the center of your emotional world, believing that no matter what, you would react, respond, or chase. But now, standing in the silence you created, they're left asking themselves questions they never wanted to face. Did I misjudge them? Was I wrong about how much they cared? Why am I not in control anymore? Confusion leads to cracks in their self-confidence. They start second-guessing everything they thought they knew about the situation. They try to retrace their steps, replay old conversations, look for signs they missed. This isn't casual wondering. It's a desperate mental scramble to regain understanding. Because as human beings, we fear nothing more than uncertainty. As Sun Tzu once said in The Art of War, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But now your ex realizes they don't fully know you anymore, and worse, they aren't sure they ever did. With confusion comes self-doubt, and it cuts deeper than pride will allow them to admit. For the first time, they start questioning their own value. They wonder if maybe they weren't as irreplaceable as they once believed. They wonder if maybe their assumptions about how much you needed them were illusions they created for their own ego. This internal questioning is brutal. And because it challenges the core of their self-worth, it doesn't feel like an aha moment. It feels like a slow collapse from the inside out. At this point, even their friends' advice or outside validation can't fully soothe them. Confusion doesn't respond to distractions. It demands answers. And if they can't get those answers from you because you're silent, strong, and detached, the confusion grows heavier. It clings to them like a fog they can't escape. They may even try to convince themselves that they're fine, but their subconscious mind knows better. Something is very, very wrong, and they have no idea how to fix it. This emotional storm is the early undoing of their old power over you. They're not just missing you, they're questioning their ability to influence you at all. And in a world where power equals security, your refusal to react strips them of both. Their confusion deepens, their self-doubt roots itself in their mind, and the very identity they built in your relationship starts to fracture. Anger and frustration. When confusion and self-doubt reach a boiling point, another wave crashes into them, anger and frustration. But here's the twist. This anger isn't really about you. It's about themselves. It's about losing the control they once thought was permanent. When you stop reacting, you don't just silence the noise. You hold up a mirror they can't escape from. And what they see in that reflection, it infuriates them. In their mind, they believed you needed them more than they needed you. They believed they could dictate the terms of interaction, that you would always be the one to reach out first, to apologize, to mend the cracks. Now, every day that passes without a word from you feels like a direct attack on their pride. As Aristotle said, anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree at the right time, that's not easy. Your ex? They don't know how to channel this anger properly. It festers inside them, wild and uncontrollable. Their anger starts as quiet resentment. How dare they not react? Why aren't they chasing me? After everything I meant to them, how could they be so indifferent? The questions aren't logical. They're emotional landmines. Because deep down, the anger isn't because you hurt them. It's because you've stopped giving them emotional oxygen. You've disrupted the system that fed their ego, and like anyone who loses their supply, their first instinct is rage. And that rage often leads to impulsive behavior. They may lash out indirectly, posting passive-aggressive messages online, talking negatively about you to mutual friends, or trying to provoke you in subtle ways. They're desperate to make you react, because if you react, it proves you still care. If you react, they regain control. Your silence is their enemy now. And nothing infuriates a person more than realizing that they no longer have the power they thought was theirs by default. What they don't realize yet is that their anger is only the surface emotion. Beneath it lies something much deeper and more painful: fear. But for now, frustration keeps them spinning in circles, unable to admit the truth. They're losing the person who once made them feel invincible. And the worst part for them? They have no idea how to stop it. After the anger burns hot and eventually exhausts itself, fear creeps in. And this time, it's personal. It's no longer about pride, control, or ego. It's about the terrifying possibility that they are no longer the center of your world, and worse, that someone else might be. This fear cuts deeper than any silence ever could. When you stop reacting, they lose the ability to gauge where they stand with you. They can't feel your anger, your sadness, or your longing. And without that emotional feedback, their mind fills the silence with the worst possible scenarios. What if they've moved on? What if someone else is giving them the attention I used to take for granted? The unknown drives them crazy because they can no longer influence your emotions or predict your moves. As Seneca once said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Their imagination becomes a battlefield where they are already losing. Fear is a cruel storyteller. It twists every minor detail into a major threat. If you post a photo smiling, they assume you're happy without them. If you don't post anything, they assume you're too busy living an exciting life they are no longer a part of. Every silence becomes a sentence, every absence a wound. They start to understand that while they hesitated, while they played games, you were evolving. And evolution rarely waits for the ones stuck in old cycles. The thought of you being admired, loved, and valued by someone else is unbearable for them. It's not just jealousy, It's the existential fear of being forgotten, of being rendered irrelevant. People often think avoidance or emotionally detached individuals don't care. But the truth is, they care desperately once they realize their safety net is gone. That safety net was your attention. Now it's vanished, and the ground beneath them feels endless and cold. In this stage, their fear is no longer about losing you as a person. It's about losing the version of themselves that felt needed, important, and desired. Your silence doesn't just threaten the relationship. It threatens the identity they built around being significant to you. And nothing terrifies the human heart more than the idea of being easily replaced. Once the fear of being replaced takes hold, another heavy emotion follows closely behind: deep regret. This is no longer about missing attention or validation. This is about mourning what they lost. When you stop reacting, you don't just remove yourself from their present, you haunt their memory. You become the what if, the could have been, the maybe forever they let slip through their fingers. Regret is different from sadness. Sadness can be fleeting, regret lingers. It weighs heavily on the mind because it demands reflection. Your ex is forced to confront the decisions they made. The texts they didn't answer. The fights they escalated. The love they didn't nurture. They realized too late that while they were busy assuming you'd always be there, you were quietly slipping out of their grasp. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Now, every thought they have about you stains their spirit a little darker. Nostalgia kicks in next, and it's vicious. It doesn't just replay the good memories, it romanticizes them. They start to idealize the relationship, forgetting the flaws, the tension, the reasons for the separation. All they remember now is the feeling of your laugh, the way you looked at them, the safety they felt when you were close. And because you are no longer accessible, those memories become sacred artifacts in their mind, pieces of a world they can't visit anymore. Deep regret isn't loud, it's quiet and paralyzing. It creeps into their mind late at night when the distractions run out. It sneaks into songs they hear, places they pass, even the faces of strangers who remind them of you. They can't escape it. And because they feel they've lost their chance, the regret doesn't lead immediately to action. It leads to internal suffering. They turn inward, obsessing over what they did wrong, what they could have said, and whether it's already too late. In this stage, it's important to realize your power has fully shifted. They no longer see you as someone they could have back whenever they want. They see you as the person they should have fought harder for, respected more, and valued beyond their pride. And that realization isn't just painful, it's transformative. Whether they act on it or not, they will never see you the same way again. After regret and nostalgia have fully taken root, the next emotion hits them even harder: helplessness. By this point, they realize that wanting you back isn't enough. They sense, maybe for the first time, that they have lost control of the situation entirely. And that realization doesn't bring them closer to action, it triggers a deep, gnawing panic inside them. Helplessness feels like, well, drowning without anything to hold on to. It's not just sadness or frustration anymore. It's the terrifying sense that no matter what they do, they can't make you care, they can't force a reaction, and they can't undo the consequences of their past behavior. As Confucius wisely said, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones, but helplessness tricks them into believing the mountain is impossible to move at all. They feel trapped, staring at the mess they created and realizing they have no easy way back to you. The panic that follows is raw and emotional, not calculated or cool. It's not the type of panic you see in Hollywood movies. It's quiet, isolating, and often invisible to others. They might appear fine on the outside, but internally, they're spiraling. Their mind races with worst-case scenarios. What if I lost them forever? What if someone better took my place? What if I ruined the best thing I ever had? Every moment of your silence reinforces their fear that the door has closed, and they have no key to open it again. In helplessness, pride begins to erode completely. The ego that once told them they could get you back at any moment starts to collapse. For some, this becomes a breaking point. They realize they aren't in control, not of you, not of your emotions, and not even of their own anymore. And that helplessness often leads to the most desperate behaviors. Impulsive texts, late-night calls, sudden emotional outbursts, acts that are far more about soothing their own panic than genuinely reconnecting with you. In this stage, your absence becomes more powerful than any presence could have been. Because it's no longer about you simply being gone. It's about them realizing they can no longer reach you, influence you, or move you the way they once could. Their panic becomes their prison, and the emotional tables have turned completely. After the panic burns through every ounce of pride and resistance, your ex will finally reach the last stage, surrender and acceptance. This is where all their struggling, manipulating and hoping collide with one brutal truth. They cannot force you back into their life. They cannot reverse what your silence has taught them, and they cannot undo their own actions with a simple apology. At this point, something inside them breaks, not in an angry, chaotic way, but in a quiet, devastating collapse. They stop fighting the reality they once refused to accept. They realize you are no longer orbiting around them. You are living your own story now, and they are no longer a guaranteed part of it. As Khalil Gibran once wrote, "Sadness is but a wall between two gardens." Your silence has built that wall, and they finally understand they may never cross it again. Acceptance doesn't come with a triumphant moment of clarity. It comes slowly, painfully. It sinks into their daily life like a stone into a river, making everything a little heavier, a little harder to breathe around. They may still hope for reconciliation in the back of their mind, but at this point, they know they have no control over it. They recognize that if they want to earn another chance, it would require real change. Not temporary promises, not manipulative tactics, but true growth. And not everyone is capable of that. For some, surrender leads to deep personal transformation. For others, it leads only to silent regret they carry for years. Either way, once they reach this stage, they see you differently forever. You are no longer the person they could call at a moment's notice for comfort, validation, or attention. You have become a symbol of what they lost when they let their fear, ego, or indecision drive you away. The truth is, by the time they truly accept everything they feel, you may be long gone, living a life that no longer includes them. And that is the ultimate power of no longer reacting. You give yourself the gift of freedom, and you force them to confront the truth about who they are and what they lost. And in that final moment of surrender, they finally understand that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Now you see it. It's not when you cried, begged, or explained that they truly felt your absence. It's when you stopped reacting altogether. Your silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's strength. It's the language of real power. They go through every one of these 7 brutal emotions because your absence forced them to confront what they ran from. The truth. And the deeper truth. This journey isn't even about them anymore. It's about you stepping back into your worth, into your peace, into a life where you no longer have to fight to be seen, loved, or respected. As Epictetus once said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Today, your freedom begins, not when they come crawling back, but when you realize you don't need them to. If this video resonated with you, if you feel that shift rising inside you, don't leave without doing this. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. My silence speaks louder than words. Let's flood the comments with power so every person reading knows silence isn't passive, it's transformative. And for the sharp-eyed warriors out there who caught the hidden quotes from Sun Tzu, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Khalil Gibran and Epictetus, drop them in the comments too. Let's see who was really paying attention. Because once you master the art of not reacting, you don't just change relationships, you change your entire life. Stay strong, stay silent, stay untouchable. I'll see you in the next one.